Thank you guys again so much for joining us on our very first virtual Warrior Day. We're really excited to be connecting with you today and share a little bit about Rochester University and hopefully answer some of your questions about who we are and how you can hopefully join our community. My name is Emily Monterosso. I'm Rochester University's senior admissions recruiter. I work with students primarily from Detroit and from the Downriver Ann Arbor area, and I also work with students interested in coming to Rochester to study theater. Also some students from Ohio and Indiana. I work with a smorgasbord of students, but I'm really excited to be talking with you today. I'm also a Rochester University graduate, so you can trust that the things that we're sharing with you are things that I was fortunate enough to have experienced myself. And I'm joined by my awesome coworker, Lance, who I will hand it over to so he can introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Lance Ingalls. I'm also an admissions recruiter here at Rochester University. I recruit mainly in our Oakland County territory and our traditional transfer students. So if you're one of those, you'll fall in my territory here. I'm super happy that you guys could join us today, and I appreciate your flexibility of moving this to the online format. If we go to the next slide, we'll talk about what we're going to go through today. So we will start off our webinar with going through who RU is and why we do what we do here. Then we'll dive into our academics and give an overview of our student life and residential life opportunities. And then after that, we'll get into the real nitty-gritty of the admissions process, financial aid, all the next steps, all that fun stuff. And then we'll wrap up with a live Q&A session to give you guys a chance to ask questions for anything you don't feel like we covered. During the time, if you want to ask questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the Zoom chat group. They'll send it to our host, Mary, who will then disseminate it to us at the end for our Q&A session. And then during this time, your cameras will be turned off and your mics will be muted, so there's no need to change out of your comfy clothes. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I will pass it on to Em to start us off with who RU is.
All right, so going to the next slide, you can see a little bit more about us there. Our mission is listed there on the slide, but a little bit more about us. We are a small liberal arts private Christian university, and we take a holistic approach to education. So a little bit more about what that means. At Rochester University, we know that our students are people with stories to tell rather than just a face in the crowd, and we want to help them further author their story. We do that by preparing our students for both professional and personal success through their RU experience. One of the reasons we're able to do that so well is because of our small size. Our student body is made up of just over 1,000 students, as you can see on that slide, and our average class size is 12 students. So think about what that means practically. Imagine yourself in a class with that number of students. In a class that size, your professor is going to know your name. They'll notice if you're struggling, and they'll care enough about you to actually connect with you and ensure that you have access to what you need to be successful. Our current enrollment includes students from 20 states and 11 nations. So that's pretty exciting. We do have most of our students from Michigan and the greater Metro Detroit area, but we do have a really diverse campus as well. We have 30 full-time faculty members, the majority of whom have terminal degrees in their field. So not only are they really accomplished, but they choose to teach here where they can connect with students and share their expertise directly with them. Rochester Hills, which is where Rochester University is located, it's been named one of America's safest and best cities. Rochester is a fun and active community, and our campus is about a 20-minute walk to downtown Rochester, which has plenty of great spaces to study and work and eat and have fun. And it's situated right in the heart of Metro Detroit, which is a short drive from major league sports and concert venues and shopping centers and much more, which is pretty great. Going on to the next slide, you'll notice some of the adjectives that describe us listed here, but to me, they all really boil down to one thing, which is community. Our community is committed to building the whole student. We believe that college education is more than just a degree. It's about helping you become who you're going to be and contribute your unique skills and passions to a world that really needs skilled and passionate people. Our community is invested in your growth academically, socially, spiritually, because we feel that when you find your vocation and pursue it boldly, the world becomes a better place. To talk a little bit more about how our academic model prepares you to be a world changer, I'm going to hand it back over to Lance.
Thanks, Em. So before we talk about what specific programs we have available here at RU, I want to give a general overview of our academic philosophy and how we truly do look at the whole student in the process. And that is the idea of your college experience being an epic journey, with each part building on the last. So the first part is exploring. And we know that it's okay to not know what you want to do when you enter college. And even if you think you know, we encourage you to keep an open mind to explore different possibilities because you may find something that you love even more. The next step would be preparing. And once you've kind of decided on what you want to do, then we go into that rigorous coursework that really prepares you to be a critical thinker and be an expert in whatever field you decide on. Now, these are your math and your writing skills. They'll be necessary in almost all fields that you look at. Once you've kind of prepared, we're going to move you into the integrating phase where we want you to merge all the things you learn in the classroom to help you in your personal life, bolster your community, expand your spirituality, and tie the whole college experience together. We do have a capstone conference at the end where seniors get to present their own work to peers, mentors, outside professionals, to show what they learned and how it merges with their own passions. And that leads right into calling. Here, we truly believe that God has called each and every person on this earth to do something unique. And we want to help you find that vocation. We actually have a class called IDS 1001. It's Vocation and Identity, where each student will discover different vocations and what's passion to them, and then set up a portfolio so that when you leave RU, you have this body of work with where you started and where you ended up at. And you can take that into interviews and tell a concise story to your interviewer and stand above the competition there. On the next slide, we'll go into some of the different avenues that we have here at RU. We do have 24 different majors in 7 different departments. I'm not going to go into each and every one, but you can find it on the Rochester U website. One really cool option that we do have is an interdisciplinary study degree, where you can actually merge 2 different programs into a singular degree that is tailored to your specific interests and your vocation. Going back to that exploring component, you can be undecided for about 60 credits or so you can really explore different avenues and what you really want to do. But then we will ask you to pick a major about your junior year or so. I did want to highlight one of our most in-demand programs here at RU, though, and that's our nursing program. It's an exceptional program. It's very competitive. You will start off actually as a pre-nursing major, and once you complete your prereqs, you will apply to the nursing school at that point. However, for our freshman applicants out there, we do offer a nursing direct admit program for high school seniors interested in nursing. And so there are only 5 spots available to qualify for that. You must have a 3.4 or above GPA from high school and a 25 or above ACT or a 1200 and above SAT. If you do get selected for the direct admit program, you won't have to apply to the nursing school once you complete your prerequisites. You'll already be admitted in. So if this is something you're interested in, make sure you work closely with your admissions recruiter to kind of get that ball rolling for that process. Moving on to the next slide, I did want to talk a bit about our honors program. When people think of honors, sometimes they think of extra work, and it's not extra work here, it's just a different type of work. You get to work more one-on-one with your professors. You get more discussion-based courses where you can really analyze some ideas and tie them into different viewpoints with your peers. There is a social element to it where you get some field trip opportunities that you may not have access to if you aren't in the honors program. And since you've demonstrated such a strong academic ability, we give you the freedom to challenge yourself in topics that really, really interest you, so that they tie into your vocation so that you can become an expert in the fields that you really want to be an expert in. As for admission standards into the honors program, we just ask that you have an ACT of 27 or above, or an SAT of 1290 or above, and a high school GPA of 3.3 or above. For our transfer students, since we don't necessarily look for an ACT or an SAT score, we just look for that 3.3 or above GPA from whatever college or university you attended in the past. Moving on to the next slide, I do want to talk about the academic resources that we encourage all of our students to use here at RU. One of those being the Academic Center of Excellence, or the ACE Lab as we like to call it. We do offer the following resources for free. We have peer tutoring sessions during normal business hours, and when those aren't, if the ACE Lab isn't open, we do offer 24/7 online tutoring support. This tutoring is heavily focused in math and writing, which we find is what most students have questions in. We do offer study or textbook resources there as well. If you order your textbook online and it hasn't shown up yet by your first homework assignment, the ACE Lab will often keep texts in the lab itself where you can go and reference them for your work as well. They do offer social events that'll help you with your studies and get you connected to your community. And both the library and the ACE Lab have computer and free printer stations. So something as an RU student, you do have access to free printing, which is really exciting. Connected to the ACE Lab is the Community Hub for Integrated Living and Learning, or the CHILL, as we like to call it. It just provides a quiet and comfortable area for individual and group study, just another place to congregate, get to know your peers, and buckle down and really get to work. I also did want to talk about our library, which is another great resource here. We do have an interlibrary network and an online journal database. So we are connected to local, national, and international libraries so that we can get you the resources that you need. Always, always, always check with the library first before buying or renting, online journals or texts. All of our librarians are masters in their field and will work their absolute hardest to get you access to any resources that you need. So these can come from either the online journal database or can be loaned from any of the libraries within our network. Overall, RU has some exceptional academic resources. I encourage you to get familiar with them as an RU student, and they can really bolster your academic success here. So now I'd like to pass it back to Emily to dive more into our student life at RU.
Thanks, Lance. And it really is kind of a perfect segue to talk more about student life after you were just talking about our academics on campus, because I'm going to talk a little bit first about our global educational opportunities, which kind of merges the two things. GEO is what we like to call it, and it's our study abroad program, which is one of my favorite things to talk about because I was lucky enough to participate in it when I was a student, and it was one of my absolute favorite memories from undergrad. GEO offers short and long-term study abroad opportunities in Vienna, Costa Rica, the United Kingdom, London, the Western United States, and Uganda. Those, like I said, as far as being short and long-term, those trips have varying lengths. The Vienna trip is for an entire semester. The Uganda trip and several others are over the spring break holiday. And some of the other trips take place right after a semester is finished. But all of those are opportunities to not only travel, but to get college credits for doing so, which is pretty awesome. As one of the ways that Rochester University buys into our mission to develop students who want to make a difference in God's world, we partner with a 501c3 called Kibo Group for our GEO trip to Uganda. They host our students and teach them all about the different development initiatives that are being done on the ground there. And to support their efforts, we opened Kibo Corner, which is a 100% volunteer-run coffee shop in the RU Student Center. All of the money generated there goes directly back to Uganda and helps fund clean water source initiatives and lots more development work there. It's a great place on campus to get connected with your peers and with your professors. It's kind of a meeting spot and a hub on our campus, which is pretty great. Moving on to some of the other elements of student life in the next slide. Our Center for Student Life exists to enrich the following areas of campus life: spiritual formation, as well as student engagement and student leadership. So just to talk a little bit more about each of those. When it comes to spiritual formation, there are a lot of different ways that our Center for Student Life engages with our students through volunteer opportunities, vocational guidance, and chapel programming, which I wanted to highlight a little bit. Chapel is a program that we hold 3 times per week on campus, and it's a great way for our entire community to be in the same place at one time and engage with each other. It looks like lots of different things. It can be music from our student-led worship band. It can be speakers from outside organizations, students sharing about their experiences overseas, all kinds of things. But the best part about it is that it's a break from the rest of the day to connect with each other. And I found it really valuable when I was a student. As far as student engagement goes, there are tons and tons of different co-curricular experiences that you can participate in. Things like the Shield, our student media. There's digital and print media that you can participate in. Greek life on campus. We have a campus puppy program where we partner with Leader Dogs for the Blind, and students can actually raise leader dog puppies here on campus. We also have a really robust performing arts program, especially considering our size. And one of the great things about that is that even if you're not majoring in theater or musical theater or one of those programs, you can participate in an extracurricular way and even get scholarship opportunities through doing that. So it's a pretty great opportunity, and there's lots more. As far as student leadership goes, we have 2 programs. There's the Emerging Leaders Program and the Fellowship Leaders Program, and those are just both opportunities for those of you who are maybe currently in student government or who just want to explore positions of leadership. Not only can you learn and engage and help lead, but you also, again, have opportunities to earn scholarships for doing so. So it's pretty great. Another really fantastic thing about our Center for Student Life is that Again, because of our small size, students who have an interest in something that doesn't currently have a group for it, they can submit presentations to create clubs of their own. And we find that when students do that, often the club will outlive them and continue on past the time that they're a student at Rochester, which is pretty fantastic. Moving on to the next slide, I just wanted to chat a little bit about Warriors Serve. It's one of our awesome volunteer opportunities on campus. It's a day that we devote to partnership and service in our local community. We hold it once each semester. It's attended by Rochester University students, staff, faculty, and even other community members. Some of the past projects we've done include going door to door to some of our high-risk neighbors' homes to check their smoke alarms and provide them with new ones for free if they need replacements. Landscaping and cleaning public spaces, building and upgrading projects at local at-risk youth facilities, and maintenance projects at organizations that serve low-income community members. Kind of the theme here is that we're partnering with people who are already on the ground in our local communities doing good stuff, and we're just becoming a part of it. We're participating in the good work that's already being done. Rather than swooping in and saving the day, we're recognizing some of the amazing things that are already happening in our community, and we're just joining the efforts to be a part of it and make the world a better place. Going on to the next slide, I know a lot of you are potential student athletes. If you are already in communication with your coach, that's fantastic. You can obviously head to our website, which is listed here, to learn more about the different sports that we offer, and you can be in communication with that coach with any questions you have about the team. But if you're interested in playing in college and you haven't been in touch with a coach, there's actually a recruiting form that is available at rochesteruwarriors.com/recruiting that you can fill out, and it'll put you on our coach's radar, and they can follow up with you and see if you might be a good fit for the team. We are a member of the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference and the National Athletic Intercollegiate Association. There are scholarships available for our student athletes, and if you're not a student athlete, you can attend all of our sporting events for free. You just have to show your valid Rochester University ID, which is pretty great. Moving on to the next slide, I want to talk first a little bit about residence life and then about commuter life. Living on campus is, in my opinion, the best way to have the full college experience. I actually did both. When I was a freshman, sophomore, and junior, I lived on campus, and my senior year, I lived off campus. And there's no question that living on campus allows for more time to get involved and to be a leader. Research also shows that there's a strong correlation between living on campus and a higher retention and graduation rate. So it just means you're more likely to actually graduate from college, which obviously all of us are, hoping to do. It's more convenient to get involved in student groups if you live on campus, and take advantage of some of the resources that we were talking about, things like the ACE Lab and the library. They're just more accessible since you're there all the time. A little bit more about the dorms. We have a freshman dorm called Alma Gatewood, and we have an upperclassman dorm called Ferndale Hoggett. They're both suite style, which means you have yourself and a roommate, and then two people living in the room next door to you, and the four of you share a bathroom. Every floor has laundry facilities, cooking facilities, and we have dorm parents, dorm families, residence advisors who live in each of those dorms, and they're there to be helpful in whatever ways you need. Moving on to the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about commuter life. Commuting students are a super valuable part of the Rochester University community. Even if you don't live on campus, there is a place for you in every building. We have commuter-friendly campus spaces. We have free parking for our commuters. We have meal plan options that are available even if you just are going to be here during lunch or dinner or whatever. We have opportunities for our commuting students to get involved as fellowship leaders. And we, in fact, have a student group that is specifically designated to advocating for commuters on campus. They're welcomed to hang out in dorms and other spaces that are typically thought of as just residential friendly spaces. But our commuters are about 2/3 of our student population. So we're definitely committed to making sure their experience is as robust as it is for our residential students. I'd like to hand it over to Lance now to talk a little bit more about our admissions requirements.
All right, thanks, Em. So at this point, we have wrapped up kind of our academic and student life resource portion of the presentation. So if you have any questions that you don't feel we've answered, feel free to use the Zoom group chat, and we'll discuss those towards the end during our live Q&A. As for our application process, our application can be found online at rochesteru.org/apply. It is free. There is no essay portion, so it only takes students about 10 to 15 minutes to complete their application. The freshman standards that we're looking for is a 2.25 high school GPA and either an ACT or above on your ACT or a 940 and above on your SAT. If you do not meet these requirements, you can still absolutely be eligible for conditional acceptance. So don't let that be a hindrance for applying. You'll work with your admissions recruiter. We might just need a writing sample or a letter of recommendation to supplement one of those lower scores, but you can absolutely still be admitted to the university. So don't let those scores scare you if you fall below them. Moving on to the next slide, we'll talk about our transfer student application process. Students here, you're considered a transfer if you have 16 or more credits coming over from a different college or university. If you fall under those 16 credits, let's say you only took a semester or two part-time at a community college, you'd still be a freshman and we'd still need your high school transcript and scores. We are an extremely transfer-friendly university. We can accept up to 90 credits from outside colleges and universities to be put towards the 120 credits you need for a bachelor's degree. We don't look for an ACT or an SAT score, so we're only looking for that 2.25 cumulative college GPA, which is all we'll need for admission. If you do want to go to rochesteru.edu/transfer, you can utilize our transfer guide, which is a really cool feature. You can enter the college you attended, the course number, and it'll spit out the direct equivalency, here are you. Students can work with an admission recruiter, so if you don't want to do all that work there on our transfer guide, send us your transcripts and we'll do it for you. And that way you can know exactly what you'd walk into Rochester with transfer-wise. Moving on to the next slide, I do want to dive into our financial aid, which I know is a big thing for most students here. We never want finances to be the hindrance of why you can't attend Rochester University, so we will absolutely work with you. And the first step to get that ball rolling is to fill out the FAFSA. You can find that at studentaid.gov, excuse me. And it is a free application, so if you go onto a website and they're asking you to pay to fill out the FAFSA, don't do it. It's a scam. You can do it for free here. It is available currently for students, or for seniors, if you haven't done it for this upcoming year. And for those juniors out there, if you are looking to fill out the FAFSA, it'll open up in October. Once you do it, it's going to ask for some demographic information, some education information, and then some financial and tax information. So you'll want to have that handy, and it'll ask what schools you want to send it to. So you're going to want to add us onto it. Our school code is 002288. I think it still says Rochester College on the FAFSA, so don't panic if you see that. It's still coming to us. Once we receive that information from the FAFSA, we'll be able to put together a financial aid package for you and disseminate that to you. Studentaid.gov is still an amazing resource for any other resources. You can apply for a Parent Plus loan on there, which can often supplement a gap between what it's going to cost and what you were offered initially, and just other resources there. If we go into the next slide, we'll talk about some of the types of aid you would be offered. This can come from the FAFSA, the government, or RU. So grants there, that's your free money. It can be offered through RU or the government. They're often need-based. You won't need to pay them back once you graduate. Scholarships are also a type of aid that you won't have to pay back once you graduate, but these are often based on merits or achievements that you've done. We'll go over some of the scholarships we have available here at RU on the next few slides, but I do want to touch base on something we're really excited about here. RU just joined the platform Raise Me, and that's a chance where you can earn micro scholarships throughout your high school or community college career. So those are things like get an A in geometry, get $50 there. In fact, you just earned $1,000 by listening to this presentation today, which is our virtual Warrior Day, so congratulations on that. If you're not already a part of Raise Me, go ahead and go on the website and follow RU and make sure that you said you attended a Warrior Day. Even though we're not there, it is a virtual one. And then loans. So I know this is a lot of people's last resort. It is scary that you have to take it out now. It will help fund your education, but then you have to pay it back once you graduate. However, RU has started a program this year for all our incoming freshmen called the Loan Repayment Assistance Program. It's a safety net so that you can feel confident to take out loans for your education and not be scared about how you're going to pay it back after college. I don't want to go into the details now. I just want to kind of put that coat hanger in your guys' brains. We'll go into it more in detail in the next few slides. Moving on to our next one, we do have our academic scholarship matrix here. So how you read this is it's based off your GPA from high school and either your ACT or your SAT score. So all you do is find your score on the left-hand side of the screen. So let's say that you got a 25 ACT. So you'd go down to that row and then go over, and let's say you got a 3.5 in high school. So you keep scrolling over until you get to that threshold, and it looks like you're getting 8,500 per year here at Rochester. The caveat of that is the renewal GPA. So you have to make sure that you keep a 3.3 here at Rochester for that scholarship to renew each year. If we go on to the next slide, we have the same kind of matrix for our transfer students. This one just doesn't go off of your test scores, since we don't look at test scores for that. So let's say that you had your same 3.5 GPA coming in. You just look over to the right of it, and you get $6,000 per year with a renewal GPA of 3.4. Now for freshmen and transfer scholarships, these are not scholarships you have to apply for. They are automatically added onto your award package as soon as we receive your transcripts or your test scores. And then a few other scholarships that we do offer for our transfer students in particular. We're really excited that you decided to transfer to RU, so we're going to give you $2,000 just to do it. This is not need-based, this is not merit-based, it's just for transferring to RU, and that you get every single year. If you're the child of a minister, you'll get $2,000 per year. If one of your parents was an alum here, you'll get $1,000 per year. If you went to a Christian academy or high school, you're looking at $500 per year. And then if two students from the same family are enrolled concurrently, you can get $1,000 per year per student on top of that. So those are some of the more scholarship packages that we offer. At this point, I do want to pass it back to Em to talk more about our loan repayment assistance program and how you can access that.
Yeah, so the RU Pledge is something that we're offering for the first time this year. And it's important to preface that by saying that we believe in the value of a Rochester University education. We know that the reality is that most students pursuing a private education end up needing to rely on loans. I did. Most of the students I work with do. The idea is that by getting a degree, you're preparing yourself for a career that will pay you enough to pay those loans back. But we also know that some careers pay more than others. Things like education, ministry, performing arts, those types of careers are often more about passion than earning lots of money, but we need people to do those things. We want you to pursue your passion. So if we're going to encourage our students to pursue their vocation, we have to be prepared to support them in unique ways if their debt is more than they can reasonably pay right after they graduate. So for that reason, we became only the second school in the state of Michigan to offer assistance through the RU Pledge. The way that it works is super simple. Once you graduate from Rochester University and get a job where you work for 30 or more hours per week, if you're not earning at least $45,000, we've provided a way for you to get assistance with the repayment of your student loans and Parent Plus loans until you do. So that includes federal loans, any private loans that you might take out through the bank or a third party, and Parent Plus loans. So if your parents help you with school by taking out a loan on your behalf, then those loans are covered as well, and they go by your income level. So the reason we did this, we wanted to provide a safety net for those of you who know you're going to be going into a low-paying field. We support you pursuing your passion and your vocation, and we just don't want you to worry about any crushing student loan debt just because you chose a path that won't pay you a huge salary right after you graduate. More information about that and like a super helpful video can be found if you head to the link on the screen. It's mylrap.org/RochesterU. The next slide shows a couple of student testimonials. Just tells a little bit about how some of the students who are planning to come here next year are feeling about the program. And it's super, super easy to get signed up for it. You literally just put your first and last name and email address on a list. And if you come to Rochester and graduate, you get the program. So it's pretty great. The next slide, we're gonna take a quick look at the cost of attendance. Private schools don't receive government funding. So our sticker price looks a little higher than some of the other schools you might be looking at, some of the public schools or definitely community college. But as a private school, we also have resources that are available to offset the cost of attendance. All of our students receive some form of financial aid, and often it's really, really significant, sometimes to the tune of them not having to pay anything out of pocket once they've gotten all of their financial aid. So our commitment is to make a Rochester University education affordable. We never want finances to be the reason somebody can't attend. On average, our students receive about a 40% discount, but we are definitely among the most affordable colleges that are like us, and we work so hard to make sure that your financial aid package is something aggressive, something that's going to make it so that you can attend. The best thing you can do if you have any concerns about finances or the cost of attendance is to talk to your admissions recruiter. They're the person who's going to be able to advocate for you, to look through all of the nooks and crannies to see if there are any institutional grants or scholarships that are available that can help make college more affordable for you. So definitely be in touch with your admissions recruiter. The next slide will basically just give you a super quick overview of what your next steps are. If you are interested, if after watching all of this, you want to learn more, you want to go through the process, the steps are outlined there. You can apply online. We want you to fill out your FAFSA and send us your financial aid information so we can put together an award letter for you. You can sign the RU pledge, fill out your room reservation form if you plan to live on campus, and make a deposit for a Crimson Day once you're already accepted and you've gone through the rest of those steps. Every person's journey looks a tiny bit different though. Sometimes there's different documentation that we need for some students versus others. And again, your admissions recruiter is going to be your best guide, your best resource to find out what your actual next step is in the process. Be in touch with them, respond to our emails, and we will help you through every single step of this process. We'll make it as seamless as we can. Moving on to the next slide, basically it's all of our admissions recruiter information. It gives you a little bit of an overview of what territories we tend to recruit in. So find where you are if you don't already know who your recruiter is, and take down that contact information, reach out to them. They'll be more than happy to help. And we want to take a quick second to respond to any questions that you guys have. A lot of you submitted questions ahead of time when you RSVP'd for this event, and we're going to address some of those questions. But now is the time to use the chat box and send in a question if anything came up that you want some clarity on, and we'll do our best to get to as many as we can. In the event that we don't get to your question, definitely reach out to us via email. We'll be following up immediately, and we can start the conversation that way. But I'd like to hand it over to Lance to answer our first question.
Okay, great. Looks like I have a question here. What are some work study opportunities? So that's a really good question. If you do designate work study on your FAFSA and you get approved for it, we work with our HR office, and some opportunities would be grounds maintenance, housekeeping. You could work in the cafeteria. You could be an ACE lab tutor like we just talked about. You could work in the library. We have student calling and admission and development, maybe even some clerical and academic services. We kind of try to place you in a job that you really want to work in during your time here. So you'd work with the HR department on that. So great question.
I've got the next question. We have, what is Crimson Day? It's a great question. For somebody who hasn't gone through the whole admissions process, you might be confused about what Crimson Day is. It's basically our summer orientation day. It's for students who have already 100% decided to move forward with attending Rochester University. It's where they get a lot of their information, their schedule for the next upcoming semester, and all of the stuff that they'll need to be ready for school to start. So if you're still early in the process, or if you haven't gone through the whole admissions process yet, you probably aren't yet worried about having to get signed up for a Crimson Day. But again, your recruiter is going to be the one to let you know where you are in the process and when it's the appropriate time for you to get signed up for a Crimson Day.
Great. So I have one here. It looks like it's a two-part question. As an international student, can I apply to Rochester University? And are there scholarships available for me? So first part, yes, you can absolutely apply to Rochester University. We love international students here. We actually bring a few over from Uganda, from our Kibo initiative over there. And for scholarships available to you, yes, there are. You'll work with Catherine Fulmar is our international student recruiter. She'll give you access to all the different scholarships that you have available to her. So she is on this page here. Her email is kfulmar@rc.edu. I encourage you to reach out to her to find out what opportunities are available to international students.
All right, so I actually am going to piggyback on that because I just received a question from one of the live viewers. They're asking if academic scholarships are only granted to students with the SAT scores that were listed on the slide. It's a great question, and the answer is technically yes. An academic scholarship is something that we automatically package just using the scores that you submitted to us. However, those are not the only scholarships that we grant to students. We also have a pool of discretionary funds that we can add to students' award letters, regardless necessarily of your academic scores. We scholarship for students based on a variety of things, including but not limited to financial need, involvement in student activities, leadership opportunities, a whole bunch of other things. So if you're interested in scholarships beyond what the academic scholarship that you've already earned from your scores affords you, again, talk to your recruiter. They're going to be your best resource.
Great. So I have one here that says, for someone that is doing their prerequisites at another college, what is needed to apply for the nursing program at Rochester University? So our prereqs for nursing are very specific. So we have a recruiter. She's also our assistant director of admissions. Her name's Mary Sauger. She works specifically with our nursing students there. So I encourage you to reach out to her. Her email is msauger@rc.edu. She can look at your transcript and let you know what'll come over for those prereqs and what you would still need to take. Great question.
All right, so the next question I've got here is a really great one. It is, what do I do if I don't have access to certain admissions documents due to the COVID-19 quarantine? I want to address COVID-19 just a little bit. To begin, our classes and our student programming for this year have moved fully online for the remainder of the academic semester. We are monitoring the situation actively. We're following all of the CDC guidelines, and we're looking ahead to be as prepared as possible for taking any summer events online or events for the remainder of this academic year until the restrictions are lifted. We're live streaming our chapel programming on Fridays on Instagram at 11:10 a.m. and all of you guys are welcome to connect with our community in that way. But as far as not having access to certain admissions documents for that, we're going to be as absolutely flexible as possible. We're working really hard with guidance counselors to gain access to documentation that students need, but we recognize that every school operates a little differently. Everybody has different limitations and hiccups and difficulties with access to technology, all of those things. So we're being as flexible as humanly possible. And again, the best thing you can be doing is communicating with your admissions recruiter, letting them know what the situation is, letting them know where the hiccups are, where your frustrations are, and the ways that we can help. And we'll work together. We'll brainstorm on a solution.
Great. So my next question here is, what is the move-in date and is there early move-in? So good question. Our move-in date is August 28th for the fall 2020 semester. And early move-in is kind of dependent on the coach or the leader of whatever program you're involved in. They will disseminate whatever information is needed to you of what date you're going to move in. But there's no early move-in date overall. It just depends on what program you're involved in, if you are involved in one of those programs. But yeah, the freshman move-in date is August 28th.
All right, moving on to the next question. I have, what percentage of students graduate in 4 years? It's a tough question. I know that the FAFSA shares a percentage that's reported to the federal government on our 4-year graduation rate, but that published number is not actually reflective of our traditional graduation rate. It's impacted by a couple of other programs that we offer through early college and dual enrollment. So while that official published number looks a little bit low, our actual graduation rate for our traditional full-time students is just about the same as the national average for other 4-year institutions.
All right, so I have a question here. Do you guys have a dentistry hygiene class? We do not, unfortunately. However, we do have a pre-dentistry track. We can kind of tweak the pre-med concentration that we have available to be applicable to pre-dentistry. So if that's something you want to get into, we can do that here at RU.
I've got another quick question from a live viewer. If you are in the dorms, are you allowed to have your car with you? The answer is yes.
So I have a question here. How do soccer tryouts work? So all questions for tryouts can be directed to the sport of interest. So that recruiting form that we talked about during the presentation, if you just go there, talk to the soccer coach and they will give you all the information on soccer tryouts.
All right, guys, I think that's about all the time we have. If we didn't make it to your question, please don't hesitate to email your recruiter directly and they will follow up with you right away.